actually wasn't good. I'd had a couple of injuries that kept me out of. Even with the injury, like Ryan, I enlisted my own sports strength and conditioning coach as well. I did everything, but because I was. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I have it all figured out and I've hit this enlightened stage, mate. Like, it's like and then that's it. And then I'd be in a plane and the guy sat next to me, we'd be talking. It turns out he's a global leader at KPMG. So then he's like introduced.
And thanks for tuning in today. This week's episode is brought to you in conjunction with Upskilled and their mini MBA. If you want to get the skills and knowledge to help move you forward without all of the big expense, then this mini MBA with Upskilled is the right way to go. Follow the link in the show notes and you can get $500 off. Yeah. All right. Matthew, we'll kick off. And as always, I start with welcome to the show. Good to have you here today.
I really, really appreciate you having me on, especially the fact we actually barely know each other, or actually don't know each other, so just get to know each other now.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a good first conversation. It just so happens there's going to be several people listening and watching as we get to know one another, and I learn more about your story, because from what I've read so far, it does seem quite fascinating, quite interesting, and especially sort of where you are right now, the thinking and thoughts that you go through is, I think, will be good to break down a little bit. So thanks for taking out the time.
Mate, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Now, I know that we have a mutual friend in Alex. So he, you keep increasing the average height of individuals on this podcast as I get more and more basketballers coming on.
Yeah, I'll have to introduce you to someone who's like 7'3" or something. The next one, so just we keep going the lineage. Maybe we'll build our way to like Yao Ming or Victor Wembanyama or someone like that.
Yes,
so,
yeah, that would be good. In fact, actually, we saw Wembanyama. We saw the Lakers play the Spurs last year in LA, and so that was pretty cool. And he was on fire that day as well.
He's amazing. Was he even taller than you thought he was going to be?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's like freakishly tall too, like 7'3" or something, right? And just the fact that he can move in the manner that he does at that height is just like, wow.
That was it. Yeah, it was great. It was so cool actually. But look, let's hone in on you. Let's kick in on there, because before my basketball knowledge reduces, but
runs out.
Yeah, but listen, so, obviously I've just mentioned basketball, but for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, so I'm Matthew Hodson. I used to play professional basketball for a long time, actually. So, moved away from home at 17 to go to the Australian Institute of Sport. From there, went to college. I was there for 5 years over in the USA. I was in Utah first, and then I was in California next, so Southern Utah and St. Mary's. Met my now wife there, which was amazing. Was fortunate enough to go to we won a championship one of the years I was in college. We went to the NCAA tournament, so the March Madness and all that sort of cool stuff. So that was awesome. Came back, had an interesting start to my career, but thankfully managed to sort of make it into a professional roster. And I played here in Australia for 8 years, played over in Europe, played over in Asia. I made the Australian national team, that's for the Boomers. And I actually had a cup of tea, had a little splash in the NBA as with the Dallas Mavericks in 2017 for their preseason. So, then sort of got ejected out of the sport, a lot of injuries and mentally fraying, I guess you could say, as well. And really sort of bounced around a lot afterwards and found my way into organizational advisory now. So, and I got a real focus on people and performance. I did my undergraduate in psychology when I was in college, and I did my postgraduate in psychology when I was still playing, actually, for the Brisbane Bullets. So combine that with the lessons I learned and understanding of the real world, I like to call it, outside of sport. And very fortunate, sort of found my way into advisory, which is always what I envisaged for myself, just wasn't quite sure how I was going to get there.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. A couple of points, jumping in. You spoke about being ejected from the sport. That, what a word. I can get the basketball term that comes in there as well. But when you say ejected, it feels like it wasn't necessarily on the terms you wanted.
Oh, hell no. It wasn't even close to the terms I wanted. Like, if I had it my way, I'd still be playing to this day. And actually, to be honest with you, Ryan, I was tracking that way. Like, I was probably tracking to retire. Gosh, big guys, I got retired when I was like 40. I'd retired from basketball and sort of walked away from it. But my body started to shut down. I guess shut down on me to a certain degree. I kept getting recurrent calf strains, and they were just I think that was I had major knee surgery when I was 22 actually. That sort of jeopardized me even getting a start into the pros, but I've managed to do it. And just through the years, and as you know, as an athlete, you have to push a lot of those things aside to focus on performance and being there every day and doing the things you're supposed to do. So a lot of things with your body that take time and specific focus and rest, you don't get the opportunity to do that. And being in your 20s, you don't really think much of it. So I was really disheartened with me because I'd had 3 career years in a row, actually, and I went to a new team, and I actually wasn't good. I'd had a couple of injuries that kept me out of the season for a while, and obviously I finally played my way back into being a semblance of myself and playing well. And then we got to I was with the Perth Wildcats, and we were the first Perth Wildcats team in 35 years to miss the playoffs. So like I started playing really well for like last 5 games. I was like, I'm just going to keep this going into playoffs and I'll be back. No, it wasn't that way. So, and that killed my stock to the point that I didn't really want to accept. And I didn't think because I even still got asked to play for the national team after that season. But then I went to Taiwan, ran away to Taiwan because I was sort of embarrassed about where I was at, I guess, and kept getting hurt, hated it over there. And then, that was it. I just couldn't get myself back into the sport. So it was something that, it's like, when did you realize? And I think one of the questions I remember in the emails, like, when did you realize that the sport wouldn't last forever? It's like, when it was happening to me, so that was it.
Often there isn't a specific point in life where it kicks in until, like you say, you're just going through this and you're looking back. It's like, hold on, I'm not in there. My name's not on the roster anymore. When did this happen?
Yeah, that was it. It was free agency. I remember because we're in Hawaii. Because we planned it. So I'd been away from the game for a while. I sort of got hurt around the start of the NBL season here in Australia over in Taiwan. So rosters were already full. So my agent's like, just hang on, someone will get hurt and you'll be able to get an injury replacement. So I was training there and things like that. And no one must have been one of those free years when no one got hurt. And it was like training and still carrying major injuries and that. But I remember I was playing in like the state league season. I was like barely playing because I'd torn plantar fascia. I came onto the team late, like all this wild stuff. Yeah, just crazy. I just couldn't get healthy. And it's sort of, I was like, the free agency would come. I'm still Matt Hodgson. Like, someone's going to call. And free agency came and the phone wasn't ringing. My agent wasn't like texting me back or anything. I was like, wow. And that was a realization. I remember I was in Hawaii because we booked that trip beforehand. We thought we'll go because my wife's American and we hadn't seen them a lot through the pandemic years. And we had our daughter, she was 18 months. And so we met in Hawaii, and I just remember like sitting on the beach there and by myself at the time. I was like, got up early. I was like, damn, I'm not going to get picked up. Like, my time as a pro is done and dusted for now.
Yeah. And so what did you do then, like at that moment?
This is crazy. My foot actually healed. Is that like I had this torn plantar fascia. I realized like it was all over, and then within 2 days I was walking around. I was like, wow, like my foot feels like normal again. So really weird, almost energetic like response. I started contemplating what's next, and I'd already sort of not shot myself in the foot, but everything that I was building towards post basketball, because I was like, I'm always going to have a plan for afterwards, and that's why I did my post grad. And I couldn't do my master's while I was still playing because it requires like practical, like going out in placements, and obviously don't have the time to do that as an athlete. So I was like, well, maybe I could. And I was like, no, they wouldn't make allowances where I could do the theoretical side and then do the placements later. Okay, fair enough. Like I'm not bigger than the institution. But I went and applied for the master's. I actually got accepted for a master's in organizational psychology here in Queensland in UQ. So I got the letter of offer, and something within me at the time was like, this isn't the right path for you. And I was like, really? So I was like, it was like a really strong feeling not to take it. So I didn't take it. And like at the time, Kat, my wife, was working. Like we were getting no income in because we used to be earning all the money. And then so we get nothing in. And my wife was just finished her placements for nursing, and so she was working here in Ipswich. So I was like full-time daddy. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to like be full-time daddy. We didn't want to put her into daycare, and maybe that was a fault on us. But I was just like, the thought of putting my little girl, like being so young, into that, I was just like, I can't sort of leave her at this time, you know. So even though we sort of needed it, thankfully had some reserves behind us and stuff, but it was more just. So I was a full-time daddy, and I was like, I can't put her into daycare so I can go do this. Like I've got to figure out another way, because the study load would have been incredible for the next 2 years. So that shot that plan, and then that was like, that's when it's like right back to the drawing board. So I had actually an opportunity. Literally the next day after I turned it down, we got a visit from a family friend of mine who lives in Sydney. Actually, is a commercial finance broker, Brendan Scott at Commercial Point Finance. So he's like a solo commercial finance broker, killing it, like doing really, really well. And he was actually the one that coincidentally got me into basketball. He's like, look, I've had my eye on you for a while. He said, psychology is not where the money's at. Like, come with me. He's like, I'm not going to pay you anything, but I'm going to teach you how to do this, and you can develop like your own, like just do commission and like learn how to do this for yourself. Like I've got all this knowledge, I want to impart it to you. And I knew I'd hate it, right? Like I was like, this just is not me at all.
Hi, I want to take this moment to thank Upskilled and their mini MBA for sponsoring this week's session. One of the great things about their mini MBA is it allows you to gain the skills and knowledge to help propel you that little bit further forward. It gets you understanding the vocabulary in the room, and also gives you some of those skills to navigate the corporate career, the government career, or indeed stepping into not-for-profit. So big thanks for Upskilled and the mini MBA for sponsoring this week. And hey, check it out. Link in the show notes. You can get $500 off.
Well, what made you think you would hate it?
I always knew that I was going to be good with people. Like I'm really good with people, really good with teams. It just, to me, I know that you can make the case that the work is relational based, and it 100% is, but it seemed too technical, and it didn't seem like the actual work of being a broker, like in terms of going and acquiring finance for people, was as individualized or as free as I would like. That's what I like about advisory. That's what I probably didn't like about going straight into psychology. I think psychology as a field is like desperate to be seen as a real science by the medical field, and so it relies heavily on the scientist practitioner model. So it really, really reduces the things that are scientifically backed or the methods that you can use, or to me, there's just like, and I was already feeling that way, but that was probably why I got that feeling not to go into psychology. Like as my time went on as an athlete, I felt like I was getting more and more boxed in.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like, well, hang on, you want to jump from one box straight to another one? I wasn't with that, So I could tell brokering wasn't for me, because even like, I knew that I had to do it.
Well,
sorry, go on.
I was going to say, that's almost a broker, and I can see exactly where you are. It's probably one of the most unboxed, certainly at the time, type of roles that you could be doing commercially, helping someone figure out any type of lending, investments. I mean, it's a very broad, I'm going to say, unboxed type role. The opposite, therefore, of where you are heading. So what gave you this sense that you weren't going to enjoy it or like it?
I didn't see what I could do differently than anyone else, other than have a good yarn with now I could provide a differing financial solution for sure. But like from one broker to the next, what do I do that's any different? How do I take advantage of my natural strengths? Like I was so used to setting up my life and seeing success using my natural strengths. In basketball, it made a lot of sense. I was 7 foot tall. I could run fast and jump high. So like that makes me pretty good at basketball. Yeah. Add a skill set on top of that, there you go. I didn't see that, and I couldn't see the sense of enjoyment out of it. I'm all for having a good talk with the people that I was meeting, but I didn't feel like I was really impacting their lives in the way that I am feel like I'm actually suited to. Getting them finance that could change their company or the things they needed, that's amazing. And that really does impact people. It just wasn't good for me. And I could sort of tell, while I was doing it, I was never excited about anything. The cold calls and stuff were cool. Actually, they were fine, because I could just talk to people, and I was really, I'm a terrible salesman. So I was not really pushy. I was always in for the long haul, and mate, I'm not putting any pressure on you at all. I'm always here if you need it, sort of thing. Just follow up. And so that was honestly, that's probably made me really bad at it. Really good at converting and cold calls in terms of getting contact information and developing relationships. And even when I started to get momentum, it started to turn around and I started getting deals, I was never excited about at any stage of the deal. I only think the time I was mildly excited was when the lump sum hit my bank account. And I was like, all right, cool, but there was never a stage of it.
It's interesting.
When I was like this.
I mean, it is interesting, because what I'm hearing from you is, and you could see why the role could be a good role, and you were about to say why you felt you needed to do it, right? But you could see how it would be that development opportunity for you. But what you then described was you couldn't see a uniqueness that you could bring. You couldn't see that, what do we say? We say unfair advantage that you might have that can get you ahead of others. You could see it in a basketball context, but you couldn't see it here. So, yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Nailed it exactly on the head. Yeah. Exactly. Nothing that I did in basketball meant anything. So it didn't. It's starting all over again. And I was I'm not technically. I don't have any technical knowledge, and I'm leaning on Brendan a lot for it, and that's fine. I didn't have an issue with that, but it just felt like it was do this, and you will get really good at this. It'll take some time, but do this. And I was like, okay, cool. But I sort of had my heart broken from doing that in basketball. So I really wanted to have the times I really, because honestly, Ryan, I felt like even though I described my career, I felt like I underachieved in my career. And a lot of that was because I felt like I got in. It's amazing I did as much as I did with how much I got in my own way. And I was never content with who I was. I never thought that I was good enough. When I first started playing basketball, I was 14. So I was a latecomer. And when I started to develop a little bit, I was terrible for 3 years. But they were I remember having coaches and that, you could be something truly amazing in this sport. But I couldn't see it for myself. I always thought that meant that I had to just go and become someone else or be something else. So the advantage was my work ethic was ridiculous. But the disadvantage was that I never trusted that what I was at that time was good enough. So I was never good enough at any stage. So in the games, I sort of was I didn't have that sense of freedom. And obviously I had to perform to a good level to do the things that I did. But they were damn near sporadic almost. It was I would have these moments of just true expression and freedom, and I was playing as myself. I was completely happy and content, and I was dominating and just loving what I was doing. But it seemed like I'd do that for a bit, and then I'd get in my own way again and sort of go off the deep end and return to it. It was never just that consistent. So I just didn't feel like I had that opportunity to do that in brokering for me. Now, I think as a business model and for people doing it, fantastic. I'm all for it if that's what gets you going, but it's not what got me going. So that's where no matter how it was going, I just couldn't get interested in it.
Yeah.
I was looking for ways just to do the minimum I could each day. So I was because obviously, and then the other part was I was looking after my little girl. So thankfully she slept really well and had naps during the day. So it'd be I'd take her to the park. She'd go to have a sleep, bang, on the phones. All right, do some push-up, do some training as well. It's trying to stay in shape because maybe the phone will ring for basketball. Right, the delusion that you put yourself through.
Not quite.
And so
not quite retired.
Yeah, that's right.
One more year.
So just the minimum I could do, and then even it'd be we'd have team meetings. I'm just doing everything I can not to be in the team meetings, or learn about this product. Man, I don't care about this financial product. This does nothing for me, So I could just tell I had no when I was playing or when I was doing psychology. Everything that I was learning, I had a voracious interest in. I was really wanting to learn more about to do it. And with this, I was doing everything I could just to, I just got to do this little, I'll make 20 calls today. All right, cool, done. Like, please get this done as quickly as possible. Like, hoping that when I'm calling, hoping that no one picks up so I can leave a voicemail and act like I made progress, and like all of that. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, the awareness, and I'm saying it's interesting, but it it actually is for me. And I'm curious then about that awareness, because as an athlete, you're aware of, like you say, when you're in the zone, you feel it. When the pre-season, the training comes together, and like you say, you're killing it in that game. Here you're in a position where you're still showing up, right? And what's interesting, what really is interesting, is that you're still showing up and you're doing what is asked, which is how many people go about their life. They'll show up
yes,
for work. Yep, I'm doing it. What do you want me to do? Done, type, or whatever. Put it away, pack it up. You were doing that, yet you're aware enough to recognize, or to get the sense of, this is not you at your best. This is not where you are going to thrive, where you're going to kill it and do that. I mean, the fact you're still making 20 calls, people won't make one call, but you're like, oh, sure, I'll do the minimum number of calls. I'll do whatever that is. Did you get a sense at that time that you were showing up like everybody else, and so you were comparable with everyone else, or were you just looking or feeling yourself, nah, this is not where I'm supposed to be?
yeah, it was a disgust. And that sounds harsh, but I was like, I don't know if I obviously got very lucky to do what I did in sport in terms of just the opportunities I was given, and to live a life where, even like I said, like, I was miserable and things like that, where I like got my own way, I would still wake up every day being like, I can't wait to like go train or to go do this or the every time. It was like, it'd be the game days where I'd be the most nervous, like, oh, I'm not good enough. But like the rest of the stuff was awesome. And obviously I started to get over the game stuff. And then just as I was sort of hitting my peak, that was when my body started to go on me. But I never imagined my life to look like that, where I'm just doing stuff that I hate doing just because. And I just felt like I was poisoning myself every day. And I got immense respect for people that have the courage. Maybe I'm just weak. Like, I didn't have the courage to just nut through it. But I just see that I've been so used to being able to do things that I really like and get paid well to do it. And not always too. I obviously get paid peanuts when you're younger and all that sort of stuff. But I'm used to being rewarded for using my strengths. And I don't feel like I'm able to do that now. And I can't envisage a long-term life, my entire life of not doing that. I can't see myself in a position where I'm miserable or I'm not liking what I do, but I just do it every day. It's just, I just can't see it. I mean, I can't see it.
What you said there was really, really good. You couldn't see a life where you're not being rewarded for using your strengths, certainly over a long-term or sustainable basis. And that often is a challenging point for an athlete, because you are rewarded for being fast, tall, shooting, whatever it is, what that sport is, you get rewarded for doing that. So I like the way you framed it in what you couldn't see for yourself. So now I'm interested in how you get out of that, but I want to go back a little bit, because this whole notion of psychology, organizational psychology, this performance piece, taking it all the way back, where did your interest in that come from?
It was self-induced. You asked some really good questions, Ryan. I gotta say, man, like, you really like listen and and pay attention to things and have, like, this is awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
But it actually started from me. I knew, or I felt, I don't know if it's new, I don't know objective truth, but I felt that I was in my own way mentally. So the learning about the psychology was a way to help me. If I can understand the mind more and myself, maybe I can use this to apply this to my own performance, so I can get better. But I purposely, and I also was like, I don't want to, when I go on the postgrad and masters, I don't want to be sports psychology, because it's like too much down the sports route. So I'm going to be in the real world. I better learn how the real world works, of what because I'm used to seeing the circus and how it runs in this. And so I want to know how, because I'm going to be behind Like when I come out of this, I'm going to be behind and not understanding. I can draw parallels. In fact, that's what I do. And you will probably do the same thing. But I'm going to be behind in a lot of just basic knowledge about how the corporate environment or how the regular working environment works. So if I can study it, I'll also understand, not only how it functions here, but how I can apply what I've learned to this to maybe produce a different angle or have a different insight that might be of use. But initially, all of my psychology study was about me. And even like when I would have invested around $100,000 like of extra services when I was playing. So I was doing I did hypnotherapy, I did psychotherapy, we had a bunch of different sports psychs, I had mental skills coaches. I even went down to spiritual healing. Like that was like right as my career was derailed. So like all of these team dynamics, all of these modalities, because I was just like every off season, I was like, I'm not where I could be. I've got to do something about this. So just always enlisting. So like the good part about that is I just learned a lot and I applied a lot. But it was never, not that it wasn't the answer. Go on.
But what you were searching for though is this. I get it. I can see how that interest came in. It's the psychological, it's the mental side, to give it that, the performance, the mindset bit. And you mentioned before how you felt perhaps you were getting in your own way. But where that's different is for most athletes, you'd go down the physical route. You would say, I'm not doing enough. And given the likelihood of injury that you went through, I'm surprised that you didn't say, so I went down the physio. I went down the sports analytics, the strength and conditioning, down that route to make you physically stronger. Something shifted where you thought, no, it was that mental side, that team dynamic side. That's where you went. That's not typical, I think, for the athletes that I speak with.
Well, I just always felt like I knew I had physical gifts. Now, even with the injury, like Ryan, I enlisted my own sports strength and conditioning coach as well. I did everything, but because I was maniacal. All I had was basketball, and it was weird because it was like I never really questioned who I was or anything before basketball, and then basketball sort of took in, and it was the first place where I felt like I fit in. So then it became like this really. Because I was 6'7" at 14. So then you walk in everywhere out, you're a freak. But then you walk into a basketball gym and everyone's happy to see you, it's like, it's nothing. So I knew physically I had gifts in terms of what I could do. Now, yes, I've worked really hard on my physical body and my skill set, but I always thought that even though I didn't believe in myself, it's like I knew how much ability that I had because I'd worked so hard on everything. I didn't think that I had the mental fortitude or the understanding of myself or the confidence or whatever it was, however you want to term it, to be able to use the capability that I had. So I saw myself as trapped by my own mind I felt like I had a tiger in a cage, and I just didn't have the mental key to be able to let the thing out. So that's where I invested a lot of my time and energy.
Right. You were looking for...
And money.
Yeah. But you were looking for the answer. Yeah. It was an investment.
Yeah.
It was an investment in yourself. You were searching for that answer about how to unlock your potential, but to unlock something in you, like you said, that tiger, to go and find it. So have you found it?
Yeah, the funny thing was, is that I found it in the last 2-3 years, when I'm not playing anymore. Right? So, and it was more about, I was thinking, again, and I think we're hardwired for this, evolutionarily, or that, I don't know what it is, but it's two things. One, we imagine there's this utopia, and that we're just this sort of one level away from getting to this blissful state where everything's taken care of and everything's great, never any challenges. I have everything. The other part, that's the second part of that, is that we're wired for energy conservation. So I think those two work in tandem, where it's I finally got to this level. Now I can just put my hands back, put my feet up, and everything's going to take care of itself. And I started to see that that was what I was chasing, but that's not the answer. That wasn't the quote unquote answer. It was really being about always having the courage in the moment. It's about having the courage in the moment to see past your own BS and be able to just sort of you can't kill it off. Like all the doubts and the fears and that, I was trying to kill it off. Like, oh, I'm just going to, like wake up and all of a sudden I think I'm the most amazing person in the world and all this. Like that's not the point. Like the point is that these things are always going to be there, right? And that's okay. But we think that like acknowledging it means that we succumb to it, we submit to it. So we are what we fear. But in the reality of it, it's just like a small part of our vast overall being. And our being is like so vast for us to be able to encapsulate. I think that we think that we can encapsulate ourselves in a few words or things, but I don't see that the case. I see us as being vast, like he's amazing, access to all sorts, from the most evil to the most divine, right? We have access to all that. It's just a natural part of being human.
And so what I'm hearing is, whilst you're looking, like you say, for the answer that goes, done it, made it, sit back, relax, I've got the answer. That, in fact, thinking that is Zen. The whole knowledge, having the full knowledge is Zen. In fact, that wasn't the case. What is the case? And I've heard this from others before, but now I'm piecing it even more together, is it's accepting, or it's allowing that emotion or that feeling to come through. And then it's knowing how to deal with it. It's being aware. It's as proactive, we say, as proactive as we might want to be with things, it's reacting to our emotion, but knowing how to react to it, and in a way that then doesn't destruct you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the acceptance of it without it making it mean it like be the totality of your being. So that's like that's where I said like we're so vast in that, but we think that this small part of ourselves that thinks this way is the whole part of us. Like no, it's just a small part of us. So you're able to it's almost like compartmentalizing it. Okay, it's just this bullshit again. Excuse me. So it's just this again. Yeah. This thing only wins, like, because a lot of times we try and outthink it or have all this strategy and stuff, and it's sort of besides the point. Like the whole thing, this thing only wins if I engage in it. It's like a bully, or a heckler. Yeah. Like, it's like you have someone, so you can't get.
yeah, that's true. Don't answer back. Just play. Just play.
Just play. Yeah. And eventually it drowns out or it moves further back. And so there's no getting rid of it. It's just seeing, and then you see yourself more clearly. Okay, I do have these strengths. Okay, I do have these weaknesses. That's okay. Like the best in everything that they do have glaring weaknesses, like glaring. But they just hone in on their strengths. They accept the trade-offs that come with it. And if they cop some licks along the way, then they just say it's part of the game and they keep on moving. It's all about that. Just being able to drop it doesn't mean anything about me.
So bringing this back to you then, and I'm curious now, you said this really is only a few years for you, because retirement was 5 years, 6 years from, where are we, 26? So yeah, around for you coming out, retirement or the shift. I'm interested then on how you went through that process. So for you, did you, as you realize the phone isn't ringing, you're in a job, how was your identity impacted? What emotions were you going through? And as you look back, did you feel you reacted in the best way possible for you? Or did that take time for you to figure out?
No, it took me ages. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I have it all figured out and I've hit this enlightened stage, mate. Like, it's like, I was, again, I honestly think it was just playing out what, like, subconsciously I had pictured for myself. Even when I was doing well, I still had this picture that I was a loser. So, like, I was running away from that this whole time. That's why I was trying to work to something. But then when something like that happens, I honestly think, Nate, that I subjected myself to a lot of misery and to a lot of bad circumstances that I didn't really need to. But I did it because I was dedicated to proving this image that I had in myself. And that's how, like, powerful these images of ourselves are. And if we're running away, even when we're running away from it, or we're setting our life up in a way to prove the opposite, we're feeding it, and we just eventually create the thing that, like, not even in the manifest, not all that BS, but just not in like we can't help but like move towards what we're trying to validate about ourselves. So if we recognize it, then you're just like, oh, it's just that again. I don't actually have to play into this. I can go and do this or do what I want to do. But I was playing into that. So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm this loser that came back to the hometown and, now working some job after playing for Australia, all this. Like I was like trying to prove it to myself. And it's only once I like was able to see through it, I'm like, life doesn't have to be this brutal. I'm like making it harder on myself. Like I'm making choices right now that are like keeping us in certain positions. And you feel guilty about that too. And there's just more avenues for like you to feel bad about yourself. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm letting down my family and all this and all that. It's like no. So once you get like, it was a long process of just seeing past my BS and just being like, you're doing this to yourself, and that no one's going to like come save you. So like I get lucky. I get lucky with a lot of things. So I'm really good with people. I always seem to create opportunities and things like that. Like I've had amazing things work out for me. That only comes to fruition when I'm out there and being myself and talking with people and not isolating myself. I was isolating myself like crazy and acting like I was like righteous for doing it, So it took a while, it took a long time, but that's why like I'm actively in the process of being like, man, like I don't have to have this sport or this story validate me. I can just choose just to be who I am, regardless of what's going on, and things will work out. And they generally do.
And so, has there been a turning point for you, or actually? So how have you figured it out? Have you been? Yeah. What have you been doing? Because I guess, like me, there's going to be this same thinking. Absolutely, good man. You went through it. You worked it out. And if I'm someone who's in there right now, how do I get out of it?
Yeah. Well, for me, a lot of it was I don't think there's anything outside of just like I was always questioning what I was feeling at every stage, right? And I was like I said, I was walking through life feeling like poisoned and stuff, and I just couldn't help, because I'd done that like work, all the work that I'd done with all of the modalities and the psych degree and the energetic healing. I had enough awareness to be like, bro, nothing good is going to come out of this. Like, so it was just like, I got to the stage, and what really helped me was that I'll tell you what, here's a specific example, because it's a big question, but like how I could start to see patterns, me just like repeating the same patterns. I initially, once I came back to Ipswich, there's a country town about 20 minutes away that I grew up in for a little bit before coming to Ipswich. So I have a lot of great childhood memories out there. So when I was feeling sorry for myself a lot, I would drive out there like early morning and just walk. And I'd walk for like 2-3 hours. And initially it started as me just enjoying the scenery, because the scenery out there is quite gorgeous, like the countryside. I loved it. And then I thought it'd be a good idea to start putting weights in my backpack and using it as like a training thing. So I'd walk for hours on time with weights in my bag and getting beaten down by the sun. And then not only that, after a bit of time, I started talking to myself out loud, and I started to try and like solve my problem. So you just walk, and if someone was driving past, they see this like 7-foot guy in this bucket hat and sunnies in the middle, and I'd start picking, not only was it in the morning, I started picking like the hottest times of the day. So I started going there like in the summer, beating down sun, just like punishing myself, like having this. And while I'm talking, I'm basically chastising myself about what I become, why I'm too much of a coward to go after what I want, how these people have done me wrong, how I did that to myself and all that. And then I just started to be like, I started to see after a while, I remember driving out there, I pulled the car over. I was like, look, what started off as something that was supposed to be really good for you ended up divulging into self-punishment. Yeah. And I started then I just sat there and just like, not only have you done it here, but you've done it in every aspect of your life. So it just got to a point where like I knew all this stuff, but I just didn't want to see it. And then once I had the courage to be like honest with myself about it, like, you are doing this to yourself. Like, you are doing this to yourself. yes, some things happen that you wouldn't want to happen, but welcome to life, mate. Like everyone else has the same thing. Here you are crying about this. Like, and so once I saw that, I was like, I started making parallels back to when things worked out in my life. I was like, mate, I was never in this state. Like, I was never in this state of like misery and self-depression. And then all of a sudden an opportunity came that changed everything. It was always, I'd been in this situation before where I was in self-misery, but I always had to make the change first. And then invariably something would work out for me.
Yeah.
So it's just pattern recognition, man. Like, yeah. I hope that people have had enough like evidence of things working out for them, and versus like things not, and then being able to see the difference between the two and just being like, to see, I'm just repeating the same patterns of when stuff wasn't working out for me. Because we want to be saved. Like we want like the sympathy, and we want someone to see us, to feel sorry for us, and here's something that's going to help you, you know, because it's easy that way. Like we want someone else to show belief in us, and that does happen. But there's no real change without you seeing it first, then just going for it, and then invariably things work out for you. And it takes time, obviously, but
yeah. Yes, it does. And wow, thanks for sharing that story and bringing that perspective. And, you know, it resonates so much when you talk about the pattern recognition and the self-awareness that one has as an athlete, right? Often is physical. You've spoken there about this, the mental health, the mental strength and mindset that comes with it. But the key word or phrase for me is that pattern recognition, is knowing, look back, and I often call it a look back exercise. And they say, talk to me about when things were good on the court, and talk about when things were good off the court. And do they overlap? And where they don't overlap, just look for the pattern. Just talk about, well, what was in this gap? What was going on, good or bad? And that's what you got to. It sounds like it was a walk at times of misery to really get there. But it enabled you to look back and find those patterns of, well, when things worked out well, here's what I was doing. And here's what was around me to support you through that. Wow. And so then for you, you know, the family, you're back in, you're in a hometown, you're somewhere emotionally safe. How important was the environment to you in getting through the transition to where you are today, which is where I want to step into next?
Funnily enough, man, being at home like made me feel even worse. You know, like I left home when I was 17, and when I left, I don't have like bad memories of this place. I was just like, oh, this sounds bad, but it's like, I'm too good to come back here. Like I think I'm going to basically become a multimillionaire. Like I'll be able to live. I envisage myself living over in the US. Like I'll just do what I want after this, but I'm not coming back here. So I came back here, you know, and a lot of that was, we came back, and I didn't know, like the main reason actually we came back was Cash was doing her, like my wife Cash was doing her placements out here, and then we stayed with family. Well, because I was like, I'm going to get picked up somewhere, so I'm not going to sign a lease somewhere or things like that. But so we'll stay here with family for a little bit, and you know, once I get picked up, we'll sayonara, we'll see you later. So being around the family made me feel worse. But the thing about it that was helpful was that when basketball wasn't there, the thing that was good was that they helped me to see, they validated that I was Matthew without basketball. Like that was like, I'd seen myself as basketball being the integral, damn near main part of my identity, even though I thought I was smarter than that, right? And so I started to see that they loved me, like, because I always felt like such a loser, right? And I could see that they loved me and believed in me more than basketball. Like, so they just loved me for who I was, and they believed in me just as a person and like the strengths that I had and the abilities. But even just like for things like being a dad, like I don't like to, I'm not brave, but I think I'm a really good dad. Like and I've been really, really fortunate to spend a lot of time with my little girl. We got a little son on the way. And so I'm really thankful for that. And it's something that I just have enjoyed, and just got this amazing relationship with my little girl. And so like they love seeing that, and they love seeing me just be myself in a conversation or sit and have a coffee with. So that was like, and my wife was really big with that, because she was like, Matthew, like, or Matt, she's like, basketball isn't you. She's like, and she met me like when I was playing basketball. So I always felt like this is what I'm sort of known for. Without it, like, what am I really? Especially when I'm in a place where I'm not achieving, quote unquote, at the level that I was, a comparable level. Or I hadn't had my life figured out and all this other BS we tell ourselves. And she's like, I don't care about basketball. She's like, you're better than this. So I was like, I couldn't see it. Again, I can't see it, I was like, but this is the only thing that I do. And, I know that I can be considered, some people might consider me, somewhat intelligent. I think that's just because they don't expect someone 7 foot tall to be able to string a couple of sentences together. I don't know. I don't know what it is. So, but I just can't see it, babe. And that's why I was so frustrated in the real world. I was like, nothing that I can do, nothing that I used to be able to do, and nothing like matter here. Like, no one wants to know me, and it's not true. It was all these stories I'm telling myself. Yeah. So, but that the support was really big in that regard. Even though I used it as evidence to fuel that I was a loser, once I started to see through that, it was like, well, I'm really lucky to have like this, and like a wife who supports me no matter what, and an amazing little daughter, and my mum and dad here, my grandparents, and to be able to talk to these people and say, Matthew, like, we just want to see you just be you, like, we don't care about. But I was so caught up in my own stuff, I wasn't myself with them for a long time. I was, distant, or always complaining about something, or didn't feel like I deserved to like be confident about anything, because look at how my life has turned out, So yeah, again, very, very thankful that I had the support that I had,
Yeah. Quite right as well. And like you say, sometimes we can't see it. We can't see the label when we are in the jar of sorts. So, we don't know it. It takes someone to tell us. So today, how do you apply yourself today? You're speaking about in the role, being in commercial brokerage and that sales, you didn't feel you were in a position to apply your strengths to what you're doing. How are you finding that outlet today?
I talk to people. That's what I do. And so I've been fortunate, obviously, to have some like work in advisory that I've done that's way more suited to me. But with the brokering, I took it because I felt like it was going to sort of lead me to this. And sure enough, inevitably it did. So
how did it do that?
This is an interesting one, is that it was sort of mixed. My S&C coach who played basketball said, hey, I've got this kid who really likes basketball, but he wants to not only do, because he knew I did psychology and things like that, and he'd always wanted me to sort of do some stuff with his athletes. He's like, this kid needs help with basketball, but his dad really wants some mentorship. And his dad like runs a advisory firm for like construction project management advisory firm. I was like, okay, cool. He's like, it might be worth talking to this guy. I know you're not liking brokering. He's like, I was like, okay, yeah, fine. But so I said, I negotiated with the dad. I said, look, if we do an on-court training, I'll do here for this for cash. I said, but anything that we do mentorship-wise, where I'm talking to your son, Rafferty's his name, talking to Raf, giving him some documents that I made or things like that. I said, I won't take payment, but if you could maybe introduce me to people who that would need like commercial finance, like for asset finance or whatever it is, that'd be fantastic. It's like, yeah, sure. So anyway, we got talking through that. So that was the initial proposition. It was like, all right, well, it started with brokering. Here's another contact. This is like a different avenue for quote unquote marketing or referrals that might be advantageous to me. And then we got talking, and he loved the stuff that I'm doing with his son and the documents and how much I've thought about certain things. And he's like, is brokering what you really want to do? I was like, no. I was like, what I really want to do is, and I explained it, is what ended up being advisor. I didn't have a term for it, but I was like, I just really want to. I see like the corporate world as being like really slow and lacking urgency, and like I can see so much that they could garner. And I love the team aspect. Like through that, you get to see how people operate under pressure, and you get to see beneath the mask, and all of that sort of stuff that you learn in sport. And then I had language for it from psychology and an understanding of it. I was like, I want to apply that to the real world. Like, yeah, I could do it in sport, but I really want to like work at this because I really want to see. It pained me so much to not get the things that I wanted, what I thought I didn't want, like the results that I wanted, even though I worked so hard. So it pains me to see that with others. And so I want to do whatever I can to help people to get the stuff that they want. So that was what the advisory was. He's like, well, well, listen, mate, like there's a few things that, and so he started to open my mind to getting into advisory and that. So that's how it sort of emerged into it. Yeah, I forgot the essence of the question. But that's how the brokering ended up turning into the advisory.
I'm interested in the journey you took. So that the ability to get, I'm not just say out of the brokerage, but using the brokerage, using those connections, using your sport in this instance to try and get you to a place where you're doing more work, where you can see the uniqueness or the value that you can bring. And that's really what you've just been able to describe a bit there. Yeah.
Yes, that was it. Yeah. And then that led on to me seeing, there's actually, like what I was envisaging isn't something that was made up or something that I need to, because I thought I could sort of move into that by getting the org psych degree. And then this is when things started to open up, because once I started to see that, because I'm really good at talking to people and I'm tall and people like talking to me because they're like, oh my gosh, you're tall, mate. Would you used to play basketball? Funnily enough, yes. And so anyway, like I started getting introduced to people. So he sort of opened my mind to it. And it's like, look, this is what I do with certain companies. And a lot of it is based on their team dynamics, or they have a leader that's struggling with this or whatever it is. He said, I'd love for you to come in with me and like be a part of just sitting in the room and giving you. So I was like, wow, and I can make money doing this. He's like, oh yeah. I was like, so this is actually like people pay for someone to come do this.
I love. I just love this. It's the bit I see so often. It's an unknown. We just don't realize that. Hold on, people do that, and that's value add. And I do this, and I'm good at this. Hold on, why didn't someone tell me this years ago? But like you say, you don't know until you're out, until you're looking, and you're open to those opportunities to come around to you.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly it. Like I just blew my mind. Like, wow, like this is. And then that's it. And then I'd be in a plane, and the guy sat next to me. We'd be talking. Turns out he's a global leader at KPMG. So then he's like introducing me to this person, and then a guy who used to open up the gym for me when I was playing sport. And I said thank you. I got a relationship with him. I talked to him, got him a gift. I found out he liked coffee, so I got him like $100 gift card to Zarafas. Turns out years later, he's this like CEO of Water Polo Queensland. So I went and talked to him. I was like, oh, maybe there's some stuff we can do. Yeah, sure. And by the way, here's my book about marketing for being an OD consultant. It's like, you an OD? And so he started talking to me. Turned out he was a founder of Executive Wisdom that, and he had all this, he built this amazing consultancy firm by himself. And now he's a personal mentor of mine, and he's put money in my pocket doing stuff with water polo and things like that. And then a guy who was my financial advisor ends up like working into a private equity firm that does like capital readiness reports. So he's like, oh, we'd love for you to do like some organizational development side of our overall capital readiness. And so just these opportunities that come up, but what we're talking about is being open to them and being able to put yourself out there. So a lot of that is I just talk to people a lot. And then I write stuff on LinkedIn, and it's just like a lot of insights. And I went away from, initially I was getting AI to not write it, but edit it. And I was like, nah, man, like I'm just not feeling this. Like I can't be myself in this. Like it comes up with some really nice polished stuff. So I started just writing more just myself, like off the cuff. Yeah. Something pops into my head, or I'm reading something, type it out, bang. And then recording, same thing. Like a lot of times I get like real emotional, weirdly, when I'm physically training. So like I do boxing, like I do calisthenics, I do these things. I do a lot of sprinting, jumping. Like I just love still being an athlete. And I'll get like emotional, like I'll spit on the ground. I'll get like real mad about some sort of inefficiency or something like that. And then I'll just come back inside, I'll pretty up a little bit, and I'll put the camera on and just record and then cut that up. So just a lot of like, when I was in basketball and when I got my own way a lot, and in life afterwards, I was either waiting for permission, like I was waiting to be told that this is the right thing to do, or I was doing what I thought I should do rather than what I wanted to do. So that period during this time, even though it was really painful, I really, for the first time, got a sense of who I am, what I really like, what I really want to do. And then I just choose to be like, there's so many people getting paid to do the things that they really love to do and they're really good at, and they get paid really well for it. Yeah, it's a struggle. Yeah, this and that. Yeah, there's these challenges that come with it, but I'm used to that. Like, I'm used to that sort of stuff. So that's where I focus now. Is just like whatever expression that I can do, and I'll reach out to Chamber of Commerce, from Ipswich, and be like, look, I'm born and raised here. Why don't I just do a talk? I'll do it for free, but let me just talk to the people and let me just network with them afterwards and chat. And so just these things where I'm not necessarily sitting behind my computer or trying to come up with the most amazing marketing strategy or something, but the more that I can get and talk with people,
it flows.
Yeah,
it flows, and it's natural. And look, Matthew, it's really good to hear that. It's really good to hear the thought process and for you to bring the actual examples of what you've done to get you to where you are today. And it's been enlightening, just because of the honesty, but also, this being the first time we're really talking, for me to understand that practicality that you've taken to move from where you were to where you are today. And I love the unknown piece. And by being true to yourself and speaking to someone who operated in a field that you didn't know, you realized that there was another place where you could bring your strengths and be rewarded for being you. Right? Yeah. And that's great. And I think, if anything, taking from your story, even at this point, and we'll keep talking, but we'll keep talking off camera, but it's just really good to hear that. And I think it's going to be helpful to many people. And already through my mind, I'm already thinking of people I'm working with. I'm like, you're going to have to listen to this episode, because this is going to be a good one, because he'll talk about how he felt and how he worked through things without actually knowing the answer. And I just, I want to say thanks for coming on and sharing your story. It's been enlightening.
Oh, right. Honestly, thank you. And this does a lot for me personally, just in almost damn near cathartic. So to be able to be able to come on and talk to you. And I like I said before, man, I really just appreciate, for one, having me on, but two, just how intently you listen and how interested you are. This is our first conversation and you're really, it just means a lot, man. And I think it's an amazing skill from our first time meeting each other that you have. And I was like, okay, I can see why he's good at what he does, So
listen, thank you. Thanks very much. Now, actually, people are going to want to get in touch with you or follow your story, find you on LinkedIn or Insta. Where's the best place to find you and what should they search for?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best place to find. I ejected myself from social media during my ejection from basketball. So I ran and hid, so I got rid of all my stuff. So I rebuilt myself, I guess, quote unquote, on LinkedIn. So is that LinkedIn? Feel free to message me on that for whatever. If you want to email, it's Matthew, MATTHEW, at peopleperformanceadvisors.com.au. So chose that because those are my two sort of areas of knowledge, people and performance. So it's what I advise on. And then I've got a website as well. So www.peopleperformanceadvisors.com.au. But I'm going to say, though, that I initially got it set up with a friend and he used a bunch of AI and stuff. So it's a bit bland. So I'm in the process of redoing it where I use my actual language. So maybe check back in a couple of weeks when that's done. And it'll be more of a reflection of me rather than what the algorithm thinks that I should write. So
good, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Once again, thanks again for being on the show. Really enjoyed the chat and super useful. Thank you.
Thank you.